friends, we are in the kitchen and my name is Meg from Cook with Meg and we are about to make French toast kebabs. A twist on regular French toast, which I will go on record and say I like French toast maybe more than I like pancakes, maybe more than waffles. I just think French toast is such a delicious, crunchy, crispy, buttery, sweet, eggy treat any time of the day. So it's a time to twist it up. We're gonna do it kebab style or skewers. But if skewers aren't in your house right now, you could always just do a great big batch, pile it up and make them dunkers. So it starts with a baguette. Now I've chosen for this one a really skinny, thin baguette as opposed to a big loaf of French bread. Baguettes tend to be harder, and that's kind of the goal for making skewers because we want the little nuggets to stay together. So let's jump right in with clean hands and tucking in that hand that we call the guide hand, the one that's nowhere near the blade of the knife. We're gonna start to slice our baguette into, I would say, like a 1-inch piece, a 1-inch slice-ish. So we'll make our way through the whole baguette, kind of turning my body here. This is real-time cooking, but if you do need to go grab something from the fridge or you need to take a break, just pause me. I can be paused. So my countertop is clean, and I'm just gonna move them off to the side. I mean, if you have a bowl, yes, there's a bowl there, but I'm gonna use that for my eggs. But I just wanna keep it so that you all can see what I'm doing. So you try to get your baguette sliced in relatively similar sized pieces, and then we're gonna break them down even further. So as you get closer to the end, watch that hand. You might even wanna put your fingers on top of the blade. And then the little end pieces, 1 and 2, we'll hang on to those. Great baguette for making croutons as well. So you can see that they are relatively the same thickness. Now, could this be a skewered piece of French toast just as it is? For sure, it could. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them into half size, little half moons. So they're gonna be about that size. Reason for that, I've got berries and you wanna make them relatively the same size. We might even cut these berries in half as well. So let's just work our way through cutting our baguette pieces into little nuggets. I'm using a bread knife, which has teeth, serrated edges. It kind of helps saw through the bread and makes it the job a little easier. You can decide what kind of bread you want to use. You can decide what thickness you want, and you get to decide how you want your little nuggets to cook. Now there are a couple of ways we can do this. You can bake them in the oven, or you can griddle them in a frying pan, which is what we're gonna do today. Makes them a little more decadent. So there we have our baguette, all chopped into little chunks. Now, I was just mentioning croutons. If I wanted to do a separate recipe for like a really great salad with a poached egg on top, and I wanted to make homemade croutons, I would likely make this even half this size. So I would cut 1 piece into 2 and then 2 pieces into 4. That's a pretty big bite for a crouton, but for a French toast bite, I would say we're pretty great because that's gonna be what's on the skewer. So we've got our bread. Let's set that aside. Now we wanna get our egg mixture put together. So in a medium-ish size bowl, actually give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna grab a bowl that's clear so it's easier for you to see. Be back in 2 seconds. And we're back. I have this bowl that I was going to use. I'm gonna put it down in the sink because I always feel like it's a good idea to keep a bowl down in the sink that could act as your garbage bowl or your compost bowl, just to kind of keep everything organized. So we've got eggs large eggs, although I want to tell you, this egg is supposed to be a large egg and it came from a large egg carton. I'm telling you, that is the heaviest I've ever felt an egg. So I'm curious to see if there might be 2 yolks happening. Should we make this one the first one we crack? It's just massive and heavy. Nope, regular egg, but it definitely is a hefty egg. Delicious. So normally what I do is I would crack my eggs into a little bowl on a flat surface, and then that would allow me to take a peek in the bowl for any shells. But I will say that today I'm actually going to crack right into the bowl because it's a clear bowl. There isn't anything else happening in the bowl, so it's very easy for me to see if there are any shells. And we're gonna go with about 4 eggs. And when I say about, you could do 3. 3 might work. It might not need 4 for one baguette, but we're going 4, and I have other bread in the house should I need it to keep going once this batch is finished. So we've cracked our eggs. I have washed my hands, very important when it comes to eggs. If you notice that you're getting any egg white or yolk or anything spilled on your countertop, we at Cook with Meg always clean as we go. So it's really important to just stop what you're doing and give everything a wipe. We want our surface area to remain nice and clean. And there we have it. So now we need to make the custard for the eggs. And when you hear the word custard, sometimes you think that means like a cooked custard or a cooked pudding, and that's not really the case. We're really just referring to the creamy, eggy, sweet, scented custard that the bread is gonna have a little dip in before it goes into the frying pan. So we start with eggs, and then we need to add the usual suspects when we make a French toast custard. I was going to say batter, but we'll say custard. So the usual suspects in my world would be a little bit of sugar. We want it a little sweeter. We want a little maybe cinnamon, maybe cardamom is in your world, a little bit of vanilla, and an ingredient that not everybody knows to use when it comes to baking or cooking sweet things. It's a pinch of salt. We always want to balance the flavor. So I'm gonna grab a whisk, and we are going to start by giving the yolks a little poke, and then we're gonna start to break those up. You can see I'm sort of tipping my bowl up. A lot of people get everything put together and then they start really aerating and whisking. I kind of like to give it a head start just to sort of get the yolks broken. Then I'm adding some milk. We're gonna go ahead and add about 1/4 to 1/2 cup. This recipe, by the way, all on eggs.ab.ca. Next up, we're gonna put in a pinch of ground cinnamon. I would say probably no more than 1/2 teaspoon. Cinnamon is definitely a little bit strong, and you wanna be sure that you're not overdoing the cinnamon. About 1 teaspoon of sugar. I use just regular granulated sugar. You can absolutely use brown sugar. Teaspoon of vanilla. Oh, so good. I just literally, I'd wear vanilla as perfume. Straight cooking vanilla. Maybe don't do that, but it wouldn't hurt. And a pinch of salt. And that's it for the custard. So to recap, if you're looking at your recipe, we're doing 3 to 4 eggs, 1/4 to 1/2 cup of milk. You could also use cream. If you are a non-dairy in the form of liquid dairy household, you could use an oat milk or coconut milk. Coconut milk would actually take this in a tropical direction, which would be delicious. And we've got some cinnamon, some vanilla, some sugar, pinch of salt, and now we're really gonna give that a good whipping. When we whip, what we're doing is we're aerating the mixture. We're breaking down the yolks, we're breaking down the white, so that's where the protein is. And we're really just giving it a very, very good whisk. Really whipping it all together, getting out any of the lumps and the bumps. Okay, Whisk, thank you very much. Finished with you. What we need to now do is we need to bring over, I use an induction burner, so let me get that set up. And we're back. All right, so what I have here is my induction burner. This allows me to cook and still look at you. I've got some butter. If you're not a butter house and you'd rather use a non-stick cooking spray, that works. I'm gonna put a nice pat of butter down in my pan, and I'm gonna turn my pan onto medium. So the goal for cooking French toast is we kind of want to go, I mean, I don't want to say low and slow, but you definitely want to give the French toast a chance for the outside to get golden and crispy and buttery, while still having the inside, having an opportunity for the inside part of the custard to cook through. And if we cook it at too high of a temperature, we run the risk of the outside getting a little bit burned and the inside still being kind of squishy, mushy, jammy, like eggy and not quite cooked through. And obviously the goal is to have everything beautifully cooked. So we're gonna let that head around and around the pan for that butter to melt. I've used about a tablespoon of butter. We definitely want like a nice amount. We want that to be delicious and so good. And now we've got our beautiful little nuggets that we're going to start to tumble in to the custard. Now, if we feel like we need to do this in a couple of batches, you definitely can put maybe half of them down in the custard. I'm going in with my hands. I'm okay with getting my hands a little ooey gooey. The sink is nearby. And we want to let them soak into the liquid, but we don't want the bread part to fall apart. So that is another reason why I love using a nice baguette, because it's really hearty and strong. I can start to hear the butter sizzle. So using my hands, again, you could use tongs. We're gonna take those little nuggets out of the cinnamon, eggy custard, give them a little shake, and then we're gonna give them some real estate in the pan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my camera closer to you so that, or closer to my pan, so you can actually see the frying in action, so you can get nice and close. And then we're gonna do a second batch with round number 2. So let's get the first round going. We wanna fry the French toast on both sides, and we wanna let it get griddled and golden. You can use tongs to flip it. You can certainly use a spatula, but since they're really teeny nuggets, probably using tongs would be easier. So let's get a better angle so you can watch the frying happen, and then we'll meet you back here when everything is griddled and out of the pan and onto a nice plate. See you in a few. All right, so we're just letting everything get griddled, and don't do this at home. Don't pick them up with bare hands, but this part is still raw, so I am able to kind of show you here. We're starting to get a little bit of color. I'm gonna grab some tongs. All right, so I've got my heat on medium. I'm seeing a beautiful sizzle. If I pick one piece up and really show it to you, we're starting to get that little bit of color. What I sometimes need to do with tongs, so this is why tongs works, is you kind of need to give them a little bit of a shimmy. Sometimes the little bit of the egg custard likes to kind of make its way together to form one big little French toast disc. So give them a chance to griddle. Check them in a couple seconds, maybe give them like 30 seconds or a minute. What we're looking for is for it we want it to start to become nice and golden. And try not to move them around too much. That's my issue. I always like to disturb things, but we're letting those get beautifully golden. I'm gonna get even closer here. You can really hear that sizzle. And in just a moment, I'm going to give those a turn. Notice that I don't have any of the remaining cubes sitting in the egg mixture. That's really important that you don't, there we go. That's a beautiful color. We don't want to go too far with these. We can always turn them a second time, but what you don't want to do is have the little nuggets burn. So let's get them turned. Watch your heat in the pan. You may have to adjust the heat slightly. Once your pan starts to really catch some heat, you run the risk of these getting a little too dark. So we don't want them dark, we want them golden. So working fairly quickly, this is where it's great to have a team in the kitchen. Maybe one person is cutting the bread and another person is in charge of flipping. But as I was saying, I don't have any of my remaining pieces of bread soaking. We don't want them to get too soaked because then they will definitely want to fall apart. And you might also notice that you need a little extra butter. So it's always fun to break a little extra nugget or two and let that fall down in your pan. You're gonna hear that sizzle. I mean, it's a little decadent, but it's so delicious, and it actually helps your French toast really start to caramelize. Oh yeah, that looks amazing. So we're gonna let this go for another couple minutes, not much more time. And then I'm gonna get a plate, take out the first batch and get the second batch in. And then we will meet you back here when everything is totally griddled. If you're not sure when they're finished, you're just looking for golden, you're looking for a nice crust. If you feel like there's an end, like maybe these little half moons need to stand up on their sides a little, so you want the bottom part griddled a little, just move them around a bit. Maybe one side of your frying pan is way hotter than the other. Maybe you're gonna move the guys that don't look like they're getting color into the hotter spots. That works too. I hope that you are making these right now because this smells so good. And you may have to adjust the temperature. I've gone from a medium down to a little bit like more medium low-ish, and then I just kind of boosted the heat up a tiny bit as well, just because we want to make sure we're kind of getting a nice even heat. And sometimes as things begin to cook and the bottom of your pan, the base of your frying pan or griddle starts to really heat up, you might get hotter spots. So you do have to sort of watch the temperature on the burner. I would say batch number 1 is almost ready to come out. They are looking gorgeous. Now, while I have batch number 1 happening, I can now move my frying pan out of frame and I can bring over that custard. And I can certainly let the rest of my little nuggets go for a dip in the bowl. They're okay to hang out for a few minutes. We can toss. And then I'm gonna take the rest of my cooked French toast nuggets out of the pan. And the timing on that was great. So here we go. Let's move this out of the way. They can soak for just a minute or so. And these guys are ready to come out. So let's gather them fairly quickly out of the pan. We don't want to take them too far. You can see the beautiful color. Now, I always say when you go to do your second batch, you need to be mindful that your pan is probably very hot. So you can either turn down, look at those, or just turn down the heat a little bit, or take your pan even off the burner for a moment or two Just give it a second to kind of cool down, because when you go to put that second batch in, it could be very, 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 very hot, and we don't want it to immediately start to burn the edges. So here we go. Let's go in with batch number 2. There's enough butter still in the pan. We're really hearing the sizzle because that pan was working hard. Again, this is 1 baguette. You see, we definitely have a bit of custard left over. So if you do want to grab another couple pieces of bread, maybe full-size French toast, you probably have enough to do a couple extra pieces. If you feel like you need a little extra custard, you can always pour a little bit directly on top. If you hear a little bit of clanking, that was just me adding some water to my dish. All right, so you know the drill. I'm gonna meet you back here when my second batch is griddled, and then we will put these together in skewer form. Meet you back here in just a few. And the frying is complete. We now have a beautiful plate of griddled, golden, creamy, eggy, sweet French toast nuggets ready to turn into kebabs. Let's do this. We are back and we are ready to begin, but there is one thing that I love to do right before I start the skewering. Even though we added a little bit of sugar, I like to take a little extra. This is cinnamon sugar. It's literally a blend of cinnamon and sugar. It's in a little shaker jar. And I like to top or do a little pinch. It's more cinnamon than sugar. And I like to give each piece a little coating. Is that extra? Yes, it's extra. It's decadent, it's fun, why not? So I've done a little tiny bit of extra zhuzhing, and then I've got some strawberries, and this is where the fun comes in. You can make your skewers any and all ways, and I highly encourage you as a family to make a big pile of the nuggets, and then maybe you have different bowls. Maybe you've got strawberries, bananas, grapes, blueberries, whatever you have in your house and whatever it is that you like. That's what we say at Cook with Meg. Make it work for your family. I have these skewers, which, let's be real, these are pretty long. So if you want to use shorter skewers, go for it. Little toothpicks. A toothpick would give you a berry and a nugget. That would be super cute, especially for maybe smaller kids, because they would be able to handle them easier. If you want to go all in, you could use chopsticks. That would be fun too. But let's skewer a few of these so that you get the idea. Now they're pretty warm, so you want to make sure that you wait until they're not super, super hot. And what I like to do is I go the length of the berry. And I usually just, let's do it on a plate here so you can see. I poke it downward so it's showing me the length. Now, I could have also done the actual nugget the same way as in this way so that we get more length. Why don't we do that? Just so you can see. And then you don't have to put as many on each skewer. You can decide if you want to put the fruit going in the same direction. Maybe you're going in opposite direction. Maybe we'll do 2 berry and 2 nugget per skewer. Again, these are quite a bit longer, so you definitely could stand to do more, but could that be cuter? So cute. And then you can have a little dish beside you. Maybe that dish is holding maple syrup for dunking. Maybe you're a Nutella family and you want to have a little Nutella dunk fest. Maybe you are doing whipped cream because it's a special occasion. These can actually be made ahead of time in that you can have your nuggets made. I mean, I would probably make the nuggets the morning of, But if you wanted to even make the nuggets the night before and then just heat them up in the microwave, that would work. Get the kids helping. And maybe it's a kebab bar. You set up a little bar and you all make your skewers exactly as you like them. So there you have it. We have French Toast Kabobs. They could not be cuter. Totally interactive for the whole family. They're creamy. They're eggy. Cinnamon, sweet treat for any time of the day. I have to stop chewing now. I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you would like to learn more about me, you can head to cookwithmeg.com. All of the recipes on eggs.ab.ca are amazing. So have fun in the kitchen. This is all about making it work. It's all about enjoying time together as a family, creating fun stuff in the kitchen that's easy to make. So until next time, we will see you soon. And always remember, we are awesome.